to Data Center News Asia. Thank you for having me back at the DC Bytes layer headquarters.
Yeah, great to have you. No more smoke here.
That was not like we were smoking in the office. There was some sort of pizza restaurant downstairs that was quite
modern Australian barbecues, I think, how they market themselves. We don't like that. We don't go there as well.
Well,
Blacklisted.
if we look especially handsome this week, that's because of James's new iPhone 17 Pro Max, the latest of all the iPhones. Does look quite. It's got a different layout on the back, like that new camera panel.
Yeah.
Right, let's do some data centers before we head off to PTC, which is tomorrow. So, shall we start in Australia? And GreenSquare are expanding a data center in Greater Sydney. This is the announcement of the expansion of the original asset, right?
Original Sydney asset, yes. So
Yeah,
this is the asset which is in Brookulu Avenue. Brookulu, is that how you say it? Anyway, this is the one where they've bought the existing site, and the aim is to kind of redevelop that site, which is it's pretty small, single digit now. They're going to redevelop that little building, which I think will support about 15 or so, and then there's a additional 90 or so, or potential for an additional 90 or so beside that. So that was basically just the announcement that they've started on that, and yeah, it seems to be making pretty good progress.
Nice. So they've done the groundbreaking, but
Yeah, just that it was under development. I think that was the announcement. They announced during the week that it was under development.
I like that the journalists described the old IBM data center as dilapidated.
I think they put that into their planning application.
Yes,
With the view to
planning
planning through.
It's a 4 megawatt data center.
I think it was IBM, right?
Yeah, when they bought it, it was Kyndryl, which is the IBM cloud brand. But yeah, it must have been built quite a long time ago. I think as one of the old IBM offices that was converted. So yeah, they're going to upgrade that, which will probably be quite expensive. And then the second portion will be a humble 96 megawatts in Sydney.
Yes.
So good for the GreenSquare team. DayOne. So confusing headline title as reported here in a couple of places that they have buy $385 million of their own shares from former parent company GDS. Effectively, this means that GDS as a holding company is selling down some of its ownership of DayOne. Obviously, DayOne has got a plethora of new investors, including people like 𝐜𝐻𝐸, I can't remember some of the other sovereign funds that there's a big consortium that owns DayOne at the moment, and for various, I'm sure, future potential IPO, investment raising, expansion to new markets, they want to shuffle around the ownership and probably be less owned by their China-based parent company.
Yeah. So the figure quoted in the press was $385 million worth of shares from GDS, which got slightly confused in the article because they said that represented 95% of the original sum put into the business.
Yeah. So if you're GDS Holdings, you've invested, say, well, 95% reverse of 385, about 400 million originally, and they've now given back some of the shares, so they've cashed out, got their money back mostly, and they still own a sum that they reckon is $2.2 billion worth of DayOne. So good business for GDS Holdings.
That doesn't seem to make sense though, because
it retains a shareholding worth that based on the valuation of the series. So that's based on the new valuation from the last.
But if they only own 5% of that,
I'm assuming they originally, they originally bought it at a much higher price as the original.
yeah, no, I get that, but is that not suggesting that the company is worth like 100 billion or something?
I wouldn't have any privy information onto how they've diluted the different.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. The reports say retained shareholding were 2.2 billion based on the Series C funding. So that's the story.
Depends where they sit on the cap table, I suppose, as well. Let's get back to stuff that we know anything more about. Empyrion Digital, they have stuck some shovels in the ground in Taiwan. I kind of thought they'd already started building this one. We were talking about this announced last year, Q3, I think. This is the Empyrion. Empyrion being the platform backed by Nxera partners. It's Mark Fong and Amandine and Truro and the gang, mostly ex-Digital Realty stars, and they started construction in Taiwan, TW1.
Yeah, so this is a 7 megawatt facility, which they've got the aim of having this live end of next year, end of 2027. They've actually got a number of different developments of kind of various size and scale across APAC, but they've, I don't want to say quietly, but they've got a pretty significant footprint and certainly a pretty significant pipeline with sites. Like it's obviously a relatively modest size site, but relatively large for Taipei. But then they've got assets like campus style assets up in Johor, scaling up to 200, I believe it is, right? So yeah, a bit of everything in this interesting portfolio.
And the two live ones would be the old DayOne site that they bought in Singapore, which is 12 megawatts, and the 30 megawatts or 29 or whatever that they built themselves in Seoul.
Yeah, the Gangnam one, yeah.
NTT have bought a data center park in Mumbai. 11-story. This is interesting. I didn't see any buildings that tall when I was driving around. No, it's more sort of, what I mean is it's more sort of warehouse deployment style normally. So this is a different one.
Yeah, I'm personally not familiar with this asset actually. So it's again, as per the press release, 11-story facility in Mumbai in the Balaji IT Park. I would need to check the survey if I've ever been there. Doesn't ring a bell.
Neither DCD nor the Hindu Times are very familiar with it because they both use a generic architect's drawing of a different data center in the picture. So it's
yeah,
not
so
one that everyone knows about.
Yeah, probably we need to do a bit more research into this site. But they've bought it for 61 million. Doesn't go into detail as has it been fit out. Is it all 11 stories IT, or is it maybe an office building with some elements of a data center attached? Not quite clear, but like NTT Global Data Centers have got a pretty huge footprint in India. They've got multiple sites across all the kind of the key metros there, and yeah, this is just adding to their 250 megawatt plus capacity.
Yeah, 265 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cities since they're purchasing their Magic. So good for NTT. Which they treat India as a whole separate region. Not part of APAC, runs itself. Common trend, I see. And TM Nxera, so this is, we reported on the formation of, so TM being Telecom Malaysia and Nxera being the asset arm of Singtel. So this is effectively the two state telecoms of Singapore and Malaysia through different ownership vehicles that they have as a joint venture. And yeah, they have signed an agreement with TNB for Johor.
Yeah, for Johor, yeah. So they've got the site which we announced last year, essentially 24 now actually. Yeah, I've written down here June 24, so I guess it must have been 18 months or so ago. They have started developing this site. 280 must be the feed, because I believe the actual facility is 200, although these things do obviously shift a bit. But anyway, that's all secured, and yeah, another kind of key milestone for the TM Nxera.
Yeah, I think what they've done is they've reported the power agreement, which is obviously total, and then the facility power, which is not going to be exactly that because there's efficiency losses and stuff. Yeah, so Nxera are making pretty good progress, I suppose. They Singtel, what was Singtel, the one in Tuas, is that is now under Nxera, and then they've got their Thailand one.
Yeah, a couple of different projects in Thailand, Malaysia. No, they're again kind of quietly going about building out a pretty significant portfolio, particularly in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, we will see if that combines nicely with STT.
Who knows? Who knows? Are we going to do this? Summit Group in Bangladesh have said they're going to build a site. It's not a huge amount more information.
I didn't write any notes, so I'll let you talk about it.
Well, all I've written is Bangladesh in 18 months. So Summit Group's a pretty big.
That can go down as your forecast. I saw Bevan Slattery was commenting that he's made some forecasts at PTCs a few years ago, and they've all come true. So this will be your first one. Bangladesh, 18 months.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep an eye out for that. Pretty underdeveloped market, not a huge amount going on there, but obviously huge population to support. GigaStream, do you want to talk about this one?
Again, these are beyond my note taking, so you fire away.
You start doing your emails. GigaStream, so this is 𝐾𝐞𝐫𝐞. This is an organization by the two Dans of Digital Garden fame, amongst other things.
Oh yeah, probably should have been watching this one, shouldn't I?
But they're setting up a campus in Nanto. This is interesting because I think I haven't spoken to them about it, but I kind of sounds like what they're planning on doing here is they're setting up industrial parks which are primed, which basically will bring all the elements together. So you'll have utilities, fiber, etc. And then I think the idea is that then data centers will come in and develop on the site. But they've seemingly managed to secure a pretty huge energy allocation, 3.1 gigawatts. And the first phase of the project is going to be 400 megawatts. And they're apparently, according to the press release, they're able to start spring 2026. So I guess within the next quarter, 4 months, 5 months.
There you go. I feel bad now, and I'd like to apologise to Dan Kessler and Dan Cox, because when this story, the previous part of the first press release was just before Christmas, and we were both travelling the Friday after, so we just did a very short news with some Santa hats on. Didn't cover this then, so we've kind of friends of the show, and we've not really given them their coverage. Maybe we'll get them on for an interview. They can talk about the campus in more detail, certainly in March at their conference.
Yeah, it sounds a bit, again, this is without all the details, sounds a bit like what Doma are doing in Thailand, where they're going to...
I think the business model from the conversation we've had with both is very similar. So they're looking, their value add is bringing land that maybe not on the market to the market, and then helping the development process as far as they can for individual projects.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe let's get them on the show and we can get more information on that, because it does sound interesting, and it's all part, obviously, of this idea of moving capacity away from constrained markets there. Interesting one, Eros Energy. So it's only a pretty small site, but they're developing what apparently is going to be the first wind-powered data center in Japan, in Hokkaido. I thought that was
I did not get
again,
to the Japan section of
you didn't get that far. It's only 3 megawatts, but kind of interesting because, yeah, like I said, it's the first wind powered, potentially scalable, this site. So there's bits and pieces obviously going on up in Hokkaido. I will be there the week after PTC skiing, so I will not be checking out the site, but worth mentioning. And then finally, last piece of news, which I doubt you've read. Doesn't look like it. Keppel have extended the lease on Genting Lane, and their Genting Lane property, which houses number 6 and 7 in their Singapore portfolio, I think, are the numbers attached to that. Bringing the lease up to 2050, which kind of, I guess, works well with the lease and things like they have, and they paid 350 million Singapore dollars for that.
She looks so funny that report, isn't it? Well, that's good. Thank you for picking up the second half of the show.
Yeah.
We will be continuing coverage. You'll see plenty more of us coming out the next week or so from the trip to PTC. It's always a great way to connect with both leaders from Asia and America, and of course our friends from Australia who don't make the trip up to Singapore as often as they should.
Great. Thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, keep an eye out for not only the news, but also we've got 4 podcasts, interviews lined up at PTC next week, so obviously we'll have to do editing and all that kind of stuff that we're doing with those, so they look a lot more professional and basically better. But yeah, do keep an eye out for them, because they'll be coming out in the couple of weeks, I guess, after PTC.
Yeah. Coming soon.
Coming soon. Great. Thanks everyone.